Recently on the channel, we reviewed the Flywoo Flytimes 85 and I described it as something akin to a toothpick, but that was just being held back a little bit. And then we reviewed the Flybee 16, which I described as really floaty and sort of punching above its weight. Now we've got the Flybee 20, and to all intensive purposes, it should be better than the other two. The question is it? Or does it fall short? Let's find out. So, first of all, we come to the unboxing. And this particular kit didn't include an 04 light. So what I've done, I've removed the 04 light that I know is working, that I know is lovely and stable from the Flybee 16, and I've put it straight into the Flybee 20. But in the box, you'll get all these extra spare sort of pads, screws. You'll also get a right-angled USB, which makes it a lot easier for getting into the 04, because on this one it seems to be a bit more difficult than the others. And you get an Allen key as well. And of course, you'll get the drone, which is relatively important in a box like this. Now, before we look at the drone, let's just have a look at what else you get. So you'll get a spare set of props. If you do go out and fly this, take them with you, because I didn't, and I crashed on the maiden flight, and then I had to come back and pick up the spare props. You get some stickers, you get a Flywoo business card, as is the norm these days. You get some stickers for your batteries. Obviously there is the spare props, as mentioned before, and the stickers for your batteries. And then you get a schematic drawing of the Flywoo all-in-one flight controller. I'd keep hold of that because I believe, I was reading earlier on, the version available on the internet initially was wrong. So if anyone's downloaded the version off the internet from when it was there initially, I believe it's been updated silently. You may have wrong information about what pads are where. So taking a look at the drone, we've got a capacitor at the end of the cable. We've got that really frustrating battery system or battery strap system. We've got the 04 again in exactly the same way as the Flybee 16. I'll be honest, the only main difference here is how the ELRS antenna is mounted and the fact that you've got bi-bladed props instead of tri-bladed props, which I thought was a bit of a strange one. But ultimately the spec and everything else is exactly the same. So you've got the Flywoo Robo 10,300, 14,800 kV motors. You've got the same 2S all-in-one flight controller, which is a really, really nice flight controller. And then everything else is exactly the same, apart from the fact the frame is bigger. And you would think, being the size that the frame is and the extra punch on the props, that this should be the one. Of all three Flywoo quads we've reviewed, this should be the one. So first of all, when you receive your drone, you're going to need to set up your ELRS bind phrase. Plug it in, because it will power the ELRS receiver if you plug it in to the USB, and pop it on top of either your PC or your router, whichever is where your main connection is. Wait 60 seconds and then this will pop up, and in a second, there we go, action needed. So if we click on that, we've done this so many times before, but it is important, if we have got newbie pilots, that we do show them this each and every time, hence why I've got the chapters up top. Again, all you need to do is type in whatever binding phrase that you've put into your controller, and that's what mine is. Probably will have to change this if I do go to an event. And then just hit save and reboot, and that's it, it's done. That will automatically now bind to your controller. The next step now is to move in to Betaflight. And unfortunately, I have to report again that this is set up to a 25-degree arming angle. Now, I know in the past people have said to me, oh, well, that's not really a problem. And the reason it's not really a problem is because, you know, this quad can only be at such an angle if you're going to take off. That's fine, but if you're stuck in a tree upside down and you can't arm it. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm just showing you that the bind phrase is the same. So you'll see in a second the signal bars jump up onto the screen of the Bumblebee, and there we go. So we can see there, look, there is the signal bar. So we are bound and we are absolutely fine. So now we can set up our arming switches and make sure that our controller is set up in the right way. We'll also show you what the PID tune is, because people often ask me, oh, what's the PID tune that you had on this and what's the PID tune that you had on that? Unfortunately, a lot of the drones I've taken apart, I've moved on, so I'm going to do this with every video from now on. So first things first, change your arming angle from 25 to 180. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to take off at all random angles, but what it will mean is if you're stuck in a tree and you're upside down and you just need to arm the motors to flick it out of a tiny branch, you'll be able to do that. Make sure that air mode is enabled and OSD is enabled, and they are, so we're good to go. Having a look at the PID tune, this is what the standard PID tune is that it comes with. So if you do need to refer back to this, if you update it and you didn't save your configuration, just pause the video and copy these across to your controller, your flight controller, not your radio, of course. And here is the filter settings. Again, just pause the video if you need to and copy them over. So the next thing we're going to do is we are just going to have a look at what version of Betaflight this is. As we scroll up, we can see there it's 4.5.0. Again, it's a strange one because the Fly B16 came with 4.5.1. But I guess it's just a stock of flight controllers that they've got and they just pick up as and when they need them. Moving into the rates. This is a very personal thing, but this is how I set my rates up. So I have the center of the stick completely dead at 10. And then I have the rates. Normally on a small quad like this, I'll have them double what the default is, approximately. And then the yaw, I will have slightly less because you don't need your yaw to be as twitchy as everything else. And that's my rate setup. Now what we need to do is move into our switches. My arming switch is set to aux 1, so that's fine. And then all I need to do is just change these to the switch that I want. And then just move where the high position is, so where the horizontal bar is, you move the vertical bar to make sure that when that switch is in that position, it's activating those two things. So horizon mode there, and then turtle mode at the high point of that switch. I'm going to keep it as newbie friendly as possible, and I'm not going to add any other flight modes to this. For me, if this was my personal drone that I was going to fly on a daily basis, I would add more modes to it. I would also add GPS to it. But because that's not what we're doing here today, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep it nice and easy for the newbies out there. And again, I'm just going to show you very quickly. I probably wouldn't recommend doing this if you're not very experienced or it's not a really small drone like this. But we can see we've powered on the drone, we've powered on the controller, and we are now connected. And what we can do is we can just check to make sure that it arms and that it moves in exactly the way. So I'm checking the yaw, checking the pitch, everything's exactly as it is. Brilliant. Now let's move on and add a custom startup tone. Go to the website esc.configurator.com and then click on connect. You will need to power your drone for this. The ESC will need to have battery power. Once you've clicked connect, sorry, bear with me, I've jumped a step or two ahead. Okay, so we click connect, and then once you've clicked connect, you click read setup. Now, interestingly here, I've just taken a note that this is a 48 kilohertz setup. We'll come back to that why later. Then click melody editor. And I think for this, we're going to go with something a little bit classical. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling very Mozart-y today. So let's see if there's a Mozart on here. And I think there may well be. There we go. Now for this one, you need to click accept on all of the ESCs. And I'm going to shut up. Oh, then you click write melody at the bottom. Come on, quads. Press the button. You can do it. I think at this point I may have passed out. You click write melodies and then you click, there you go. And then you click disconnect and we'll listen to what we've done. So we've got our arming switch set up, we've got our Betaflight set up, we've got our rate set up, we've got our bind phrase set up, and we've now got a startup tune set up. Now it's time to have a look at some QC details. And I've done it where I've sort of done it a little bit darker and I've done it a little bit brighter just to show the contrast of the frame. We We can see obviously here it's got Flybee 20 written on it. We've got a USB Type-C, which is a big thumbs up from me. I shouldn't really need to say that in 2025, but it is what it is. The motor wires are held on with a TPU clip to keep them from being snarled or snagged up in anything. The battery wire isn't tied down, and it's probably advisable on a quad of this size just to cable tie it to the frame in case you do have a bad crash, so less chance of actually ripping it off the all-in-one flight controller. We can have a look on top of the motors here at the windings, and these do look exactly what you'd expect, I would say, for this size of motor at this price point. I can't particularly see any issues here personally. And again, we'll look at the motors from the side. That particular winding does look a little bit sloppy, but I appreciate the smaller the motors, the more difficult it is. And we can see that it's a Robo, sorry, it's a Robo 10003. I think I said 10002 before. Which reminds me to actually check and see if the Flybee 16 has the same size motors or not. I've got to be honest. I thought they both used exactly the same size motor, but I could be completely wrong here. And I've only just noticed this at the end, which is interesting, really. Call me an idiot. I'm happy to accept it. So the Flybee 16 motors, oh no, they are the same. They're 10003, 14,800 kV. So it does use the exact one, so you can't call me an idiot on this occasion. There are going to be plenty of more occasions further on into the future where you have that opportunity to call me an idiot. I've got no questions in my mind. And again, we'll just do another look at those motors. And they are, I do find these Flywoo motors gorgeous, if I'm honest. The gold and purple, I think, work really, really well with each other. And it's probably one of the favourite bling that I've seen. I know the Supernova motors have got a similar sort of purple on them, but that purple and gold set against the black, it just looks, in my opinion, so nice. We can see that Flywoo have already put the gummies in to hold the camera, so we should have no jello. We're also set to 48 kilohertz on the ESC, so again, we should have no jello. We've got bi-bladed props, which provide less thrust but less vibrations, so again, we should have no jello. I think you probably know where I'm going to be going with this shortly when we get to the flight footage, don't you? The point being, everything is set up on this drone perfectly to avoid any issues with jello whatsoever. Just remember that when we get to the flight footage. That's all I'm going to say. I don't need to say anything else. Now, one massive negative I do have is this battery holding system, whatever they want to call it, battery retainment system. You guys know that I've complained about it to the nth degree before, and I won't go too in on Flywoo on this occasion because obviously all these quads were made at the same time, so it's pointless in saying, oh well, they've not, you know, although they, to be fair, this is the system they've been using since the Flytimes this time last year, to be fair. Nobody likes it. Everybody will try and retrofit something of their own, whether it be elastic bands or whether it be... on the Flytimes, I actually 3D printed something which had variable straps on it, so I could use different batteries without having to take this off or remember. That's the problem, is remembering to pick up everyone. And then, with all fairness, you guys may not be the same as me, but obviously I've got quite a few quads coming in all the time. I've got quite a few quads that I'm setting up, that I'm filming, that I'm flying. It's easy, and I know it sounds like an excuse, but it's easy to lose something when you're in that sort of situation. I'm trying to build the channel as fast as I can. I'm trying to get stuff in and out as fast as I can. And it's easy for me to lose things. That may be a me issue, I don't know. But it's certainly, from all the pilots that I've spoken to, I don't know one person that likes this battery retainment system from Flywoo. That's probably the biggest issue I can say when it comes to the QC. Everything else, to be fair, on this drone looks outstanding. The flight controller is really nice. It's a really, really good spec for an all-in-one in this size. It looks nice because it's white, so it's a nice contrast to that black again. The solder joints to the motors, although they're difficult to see on camera, they all look very nice. We've got a USB Type-C, which, believe it or not, isn't the standard in 2025. So overall, we have got everything here for this quad to be a winner. That was a long and dramatic pause because I don't want to give away what's about to come, although I probably already have. And then we'll just darken the camera down, and I'm going to shut up for a second while you just look at the sort of last pass across the top of the frame. Do let me know in the comments down below, by the way, guys. Do you agree with my criticism of this battery retainment system by Flywoo? Let me know in the comments down below whether or not you think it's a good or a bad idea, and whether you'd like to see Flywoo change it, or whether you'd like to see Flywoo retain the battery retainment system that they currently have. So finally, we'll just have a quick look at the coils on the, the windings, I do apologise, the windings of the motor coils on the underside. And again, you can see that some of them are nice and tight and neat, and there are a couple of relatively sloppy ones. On this size motor, I personally have never seen a perfect one, apart from maybe RC in power, but I think it's that small of a size that it's always going to be less than stellar, shall we say. And I don't hold any points against Flywoo for it. And we can see, look, again, the system for the 04 is lovely and neat. The wires go underneath, lovely. And everything is done and thought about really, really well. So kudos to Flywoo on that respect. So moving swiftly on to the noise and the weight, we can see that the drone itself weighs 50 grams with the propellers on, and then with a 550 mile, which I find is the best at this sort of size, we're coming in at 78 grams. Now for the noise test, let me pop it next to, I did actually put the microphone down, but yeah, it's not much point really. So we can see on idle there's no noise, and as we throttle up it goes up, and then it peaks at about 82, I think that was, decibels. Not particularly loud considering the studio environment. Most smaller quads are coming in sort of between 80 and 90 decibels. So it's nothing major. I guess it's time then that we take it out to the field, we fly it, we crash it, and we hand it over to Boy Wonder FPV and find out what that little expert thinks of the Flywoo Flybee 20. So we're here with the Flytimes, the Flybee 20. Looking at the spec, it seems exactly the same as the Flytimes 16. The only difference is you've got bigger props, but weirdly, instead of having tri-blade props like on the Flybee 16, on the Flybee 20, you've got bi-blade props. So the motor size and everything is the same. So let's give it a maiden flight and see what we think of it. Now I don't know if that's jello that I can see there. There's a bit of weird behaviour on takeoff. I am using the official Flywoo conversion kit and a Flybee 2004, so we shouldn't have any jello. It may just be on the live feed. We're still using the Jumper Bumblebee, as you can see. Hey, that rhymes. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Actually, yeah. It's not quite the same thoroughbred toothpick. Oh, wow, that was so close to hitting the tree. It's not quite the same toothpick thoroughbred as, say, the YMZ FPV Lightning 2 or the HGLRC Draknite. It falls a little bit short of that, but it's a bit more refined, so... Although, I'll be interested to see if that jello... Nope, that's a tree. What have you done? So 1 eternity later, and we are back at the field with the Flywoo Flybee 20. So you do have to make it jump up in the air to sort of take off.
So like that then.
Which is not really what you'd expect with a drone.
The drones are quite low.
It's a little bit bouncy.
Jesus Christ. Don't go too far.
So it's got... It has got the power, but how it puts the power down is just...
awful.
Well, it's just probably not how you'd expect it to.
Not awful. I heard that battery slowly diverging.
The battery was screaming, not the props. So yeah,
So I think your stick cam's not recording.
it is. So, what do I think of it? Well, I'm a bit confused. Like, I would have expected it to be better than the Flybee 16. And to be honest, I'm not sure that it is. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad, but just, I'm a little bit, at the moment, I'll have to do a little bit more testing, but at the moment I'm just a little bit indifferent on it. It just doesn't seem to have the crazy wildness that something like the 16 has. And I suppose because the Flytimes 85 does, I was sort of expecting it really to be like that, because all three share the same motor. So with this being sort of the middle ground of everything, I was sort of expecting it to be a little bit better, but I mean, we can still... The thing with the 04 air unit and ELRS is we can still go all the way up to the other side of the field. We can go above these trees, although it's already complaining of low battery, but you know, we can still do things like this. But I don't know. I'm going to have to save my thoughts, I think, for the summing up, because overall I'm just a little bit confused by what this is supposed to be and what this is supposed to do. But that said, although we have crashed it a couple of times, we need to do our official Squadding Quads patented crash test. So we'll take this up to about 30 foot, I think. Maybe possibly a little bit more. And oh no, not yet, Boy Wonder, not yet. I'm gonna, in fact, yeah, go on then, we can do it now. Well, I was gonna do it on the next lipo, but we'll take it up to Boy Wonder's there. So are you recording, Boy Wonder? All right, so we'll take it up and we'll disarm it.
Go.
It's gonna land straight upside down. Right. So we're going to recover the Flywoo Flybee 20. Now I don't know where it is, and I don't know about you guys, but I can't see it. Boy Wonder's just pointed it out to me and it's here. So Boy Wonder, if you can pick that up and then hold it up to the camera and we'll check for damage. So all the props are on, spin it upside down. Nothing's come out of there, turn it around. All the cables and everything are in, just show me the other side underneath. See it spin it around. So it passes the patented Squadding Quads crash test. Let's let Boy Wonder have a fly. Okay, Boy Wonder, so straight up and away you go. That's it, you're armed. So Boy Wonder is flying the Flywoo Flybee 20. And he's also using the jumper Bumblebee. First of all, what do you think of the jumper Bumblebee?
It's so small, but it's perfect for my hands.
Yeah, perfect size for you.
Yeah.
And what are we thinking of the Flywoo Flybee 20?
It's smooth, but there is some jello.
There is some jello. Hopefully Rocksteady will smooth that out for us, though, because I don't think it's overly too bad. But compare this to the Flybee 16. Which one do you prefer?
This one is probably like crashes way easier, but the other one is way, like, it's hard to crash it if you even like try.
So are you saying the Flybee 16 is better?
Well, a bit better. This one does have more power.
Yeah, do you think?
Yeah, and it's more quiet as well.
It is. That's interesting. We'll check that in the studio. Okay, and one more thought on the Bumblebee.
Don't really have any more thoughts, I think, so.
You just like it a lot already?
Yeah.
Alright, let's switch to Boy Wonder's flight footage. So this is some highlights from Boy Wonder FPV's flight, and unfortunately, as you can see from all of the flights, it suffers variable levels of jello. Sometimes it's not too bad, sometimes it's absolutely horrendous. What this actually looks like to me at times is the issue that we all have if our ESCs are not set to 48 kilohertz. But as we saw when we set up the startup tones, and that's one of the reasons why we do that, so we can make sure that everything else is okay, we could see that it was set to 48 kilohertz. Now, if you're flying straight and level with this, it's not too bad. But it's when you, there you go, look, as we turn left, or as Boy Wonder turns left, you can see it just has so much jello, it's unreal. Now, this was a very calm and peaceful day, believe it or not. This is probably the calmest wind day we've had in the UK all year. The charts are showing about 2 miles an hour wind at most. Looking out of the window of the studio now at the tree in the garden, and I can confirm the tree is not moving in any way, shape or form. So it's a real disappointment. I've checked all the screws, I've checked all the settings, and I can confirm there is nothing that's set up or put together that would cause this. Perhaps it's the props, I don't know, maybe we can try and change the props. But I have to admit, if you as a newbie and you came into the hobby and this was the drone that you picked and this was the results that you got, I can understand that you would be incredibly frustrated seeing the results of it. Now, I think it can be salvaged. I think changing the props will probably help quite a lot. You shouldn't have to do that. This should already be tested by Flywoo. This shouldn't come out like this. We've done the QC check for a valid reason of making sure that everything's okay, and yet this is the results that we're getting. We'll give more thoughts on later on, but we can see there as Boy Wonder accelerates at full speed just how bad that was. Let's flick over to the community spotlight. And I want to start, as always, by thanking our incredible members. We've got the Good Shepherd's Sheep, Adventure Printing, Pedro Tomb, Grim FPV, Flip, SOS Death Pilot, Shaky FPV 21, Silicam Photography, Club Alexandra, Boy Wonder FPV, Connor Clark, Christopher Concrite, Pete Puff FPV, Scottish Allen 420, Jamie Primnett, Reindeer, Han Solo, Doper FPV, Mark Duplex, Harry M Photography, JR FPV, James III of Boston, Phil Anderson, Not Here, Oinks FPV, Only Drones, and Barry Morgan. It costs just $1.99 a month to join them on the members bench, and you will get your name shouted out in every one of these videos. Now, let's move on to your comments. So FPV Lawn Dart say, WTF gloves? No mate, they are just normal ones. Thank you for your comment. And Emmanuel Goldstein says, thank you. I was about to comment on your other video that you should review this controller since there are absolutely no other reviews anywhere. I agree. I'm surprised why there are no other reviews. I don't know whether review units have been sent out to people, whether or not it should be in the West. I've got some people in Canada saying that it's available to them in their local stores. I've not seen it anywhere else, to be fair. So it's good to be first. On this occasion, it's a bonus to finish first. Thank you for your comment. And Ola Bergervel says, could it be the right time for this DJI boy here to get into ELRS? I've got to be honest, Ola, sorry. It could well be, but also I would caution the fact that this isn't currently available in Edge TX and it doesn't have an external module base. So depending on what type of flying you're doing and how extreme you want to go, it may be one that you want to wait on. But ultimately, if you are just flying in a relatively open space, not very far away from yourself, then potentially this could well be a controller to look at. And we are referring, of course, to the Jumper RC Smart review that we did yesterday. Thank you very much for all your comments. It was hard to pick 3 for this particular video, but I had to do it fairly quick, so I hope I've picked 3 representative ones. If you want to be in the community spotlight of the next video, again, all you need to do is leave a really good comment that stands out to me for me to pick for the next video. So we always get to the end of the video, and at the end of the video we always discuss whether we think you should spend your hard-earned money on it and who it may be for. And this brings me no happiness to have to do this, but this is a drone that I don't think I can recommend. There is a few reasons for it. Obviously, one, that jello issue. Now, I do think that we can deal with that, and I am going to say on record now, I don't think that's a showstopper. I think that we can deal with it. I think by changing props, we'll probably eliminate the majority of it. If it continues after we've changed the props, we've checked all the screws, which we have done, and it's still there, that may be a different story. The main reason why I don't think this is one that you should pick up, and I've been really fair to Flywoo. Flywoo have refused to work with me now, and I've been really fair by sort of funding these reviews myself because you guys have wanted them. The Flytimes 85 I think flies brilliantly. The Flybee 16 I think flies brilliantly. This should be better than both of them, but yet it's not equal to either of them. It doesn't feel, even Boy Wonder said the same, it just doesn't feel like it's got the same level of punch, the same level of power. And again, that could be down just to the props, and changing the props could fix a lot of things. The Flybee 16, I think if you was to want to pick up a Flybee from Flywoo, is the one that you should pick up. It flies better, it's got more punch, it's more floaty, it's easier to do more extreme things with, and it's the better quad all round in my opinion. You can also look at the Flytimes 85, which I said flew almost like it felt like a toothpick, but it was just a little bit short because of those ducts that covered the props. And I don't mean the TPU part, I mean the sort of the bits on the side where the motors actually screw into. So, like I say, it brings me absolutely no glee to say that this is probably one that you should pass on, to be honest. I'm not sure why Flywoo released a 1.6 and then a 2.0 in this. I think if they'd have tested them both, they'd have probably realised the 1.6 is actually better. But then maybe people want the 2.0 because maybe they just think it's going to be better. And like I say, to all intensive purposes, it should have been. It's just one of those things. But this is not me crapping on Flywoo. I think Flywoo do some amazing things. The Flybee 16, the Flytimes 85, and even when it came out initially, although I had massive issues with it initially, the Flytimes 85 was very good once it had been refined a little bit. So I do think that Flywoo are a good brand. Even though Flywoo completely refused to sort of acknowledge our existence, I still think they're a really good brand. I've still got no issues in recommending the Flybee 16 and the Flytimes 85. But if I'm going to be completely honest, I think the Flybee 20 is probably one, for all of the issues that we've shown, to be avoided, I'm afraid. Sorry, Flywoo. I'm sure that'll help our relations in the future, won't it? But ultimately, you guys, the viewers, the subscribers, the members, you want to have a brutally honest review from me. And this is a brutally honest review. I showed all of the good points, I showed all of the bad points, warts and all. And it's just a shame it comes up a little bit short. It makes me sad because I really had quite high hopes for it. I thought I can get rid of the Flytimes 85, I can get rid of the Flybee 16, and the Flybee 20 is going to be the one that will beat them both. But no, if you want one, pick up the Flybee 16. My advice to you would be, if you're in the UK, pick one up from your FPV. I will leave a link down below. And if you had or have a Flywoo Flybee 20 and have had these issues but managed to resolve them, please do leave a comment down below and let me know what you've done so that I can put this through its paces again and hopefully resolve it. I will try new props, and if it works, I'll come back to you guys with a bit of an update. And as always, if you've got any questions whatsoever, just leave them in the comments down below. I always reply to all comments, even the trolls. Peace out.